As we all know, we have a housing crisis in this country, and Zillow weighs in on how bad that crisis is. But before we jump into that, make sure you hit subscribe below to stay on top of all of the latest Huntsville, Alabama real estate news. I've heard a lot of economists talk about this housing crisis and try to put numbers behind how big of a crisis it is. I've heard numbers anywhere between 2 million all the way up to over 6 million homes. Zillow came up with a pretty common sense approach to this, and the number they came at was about halfway in the middle, which makes sense. So they came up with a number of 4.3 million, and I really like the approach that they took. So they said based on their search volume and their search portal, based on demand that they have for housing, they think there's 8 million families across the US that need housing, but there are only 3.7 million housing units available. So you do the math, 8 million minus 3.7, that comes up with 4.3 million homes that we're short in this country nationwide. There are really two periods of time to be looking at on the genesis of this housing crisis. So it really started back in 2008, as after the financial crisis. There were banks slowing down their lending, builders were not building as many homes, developers were not developing communities. And so that really is where this all started. So 2008 to 2015, we did not keep up with the rate of family formations, and that continued to increase from 2015 to 2021, especially going into the pandemic stages. We just simply did not have enough housing supply to satisfy all that demand during the pandemic. So in 2015, give you an idea, we had a 2.7 million home deficit, but it increased all the way up to 4.3 million by 2021, a 1.6 million increase over that six-year period. And the reason for that was there were 7.9 million new families that were formed, but there were only 6.3 million homes created or built during that time frame. So we find ourselves in a really challenging situation now with this 4.3 million homes deficit across the US according to Zillow. We have higher interest rates, and we simply do not have enough supply to match the demand that we have, which is keeping that inflation in housing sticky and not causing prices to go down and make them more affordable. So it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort to build our ways out of this. So Zillow cited several challenges that we got to work through as a nation to get through this affordable housing crisis that we're in. One of the challenges they cited was land use restrictions based on local governments, and then just a delay in building permit approval. So that's one of the things that we've really got to focus on here in Huntsville to not allow us to get a huge deficit here in our area. Really expedite the building permit process and the development process to get approved for these new communities. We also need a lot more affordable housing in terms of multifamily development. Now, one of the challenges we don't experience as much here, but it is likely to come up, and it's kind of this, we want the affordable housing, but not in my backyard scenario. So, the challenge is we need more affordable housing. Everybody wants that for, just everybody to be able to have a home, because we need to have school teachers and police officers to be able to afford homes close to the community. But the challenge, that a lot of people run into is, yes, I want that, but I don't want that right next to my community, because that can affect property values. And so that's a sticky challenge that we're going to have to think about as we continue to develop land here in Huntsville to put things to the best use and also protect everybody's best interest.